Hey, real estate agents, welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host, Joey Sampaga. How you doing, Joey?
What's going on, Jeff?
Oh, having a lot of fun. Just got back from 2 weeks in Mexico, so
it's you're nice and tan
getting
now.
back to it. I don't know. I don't tan much. My wife, on the other hand, man, she got really dark when we were down there. Great tan. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we have a great guest with us in the house today. It's Eric Heil with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in Arizona. How you doing, Eric?
Eric.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Jeff and Joey. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Sherry Griffin, I believe, got you on here from Security Title.
She did. Yeah, I've been working with Security Title for many years, and Sherry's been an integral part of my marketing, and they do a great job in escrow and explaining the process to clients, and I have a lot of faith in them. And so she had asked me to come on and talk about my real estate career, and
absolutely,
it's perfect. So
yeah, she's awesome. Well, so why don't we start with you sharing with the agents that are watching or listening how long you've been in real estate and what got you into the business?
Okay. Yep. Absolutely. So I've been in the business for 17 years full time. And I started off, out of college, I started working for Budweiser, and I did that for about 9 years, did marketing for them, promotional marketing, and then sports marketing for them. And at the end of that career, at the end of those 9 years, a company that I worked with pretty closely in the NASCAR business was called Action Performance. So I was in St. Louis, Missouri. I was based out of St. Louis. That's where Budweiser's corporate headquarters are. And I was flying a lot out to the racetracks for NASCAR and some other sports properties, mainly NASCAR. And one of the companies that I worked with closely was called Action Performance. Action did what I'll call the trinkets and trash, the die-cast cars, the hats, the T-shirts. So if you go to a NASCAR race and you walk up to the track, they have these big 18-wheelers that sit out front, and they open the sides of them, and it's just a merchandising, free for all. So all the attendees, anybody that's going to the race, they'll buy swag, they'll buy T-shirts, hats, that type of thing, and they'll go into the race and they'll watch it and they'll come back out and they'll buy more stuff. Well, this company owned most of those rigs where they sold the merchandise, and they had the licenses for most of the high-end drivers. So like Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Dale Jarrett, Rusty Wallace, all the big names in NASCAR. They had nine out of 10 of them locked up. And so they did the most deals there. And so when I was working for Budweiser, one of the small things I did was they would send over a T-shirt design or a car design, and it would have the Budweiser marks on it. And I was charged with making sure our marks were intricately put on there the right way. They weren't overlapped with something else, or they weren't put next to something that we found offensive or whatever it was. And so I would check off. I usually did it like every 3 weeks, just go through a whole stack of T-shirts and just say, yes, this is good. Yes, or no, this is bad because of this, change this. And so I got to be friends with the people in that company, and a spot opened up with them, and they said, hey, we'd love for you to come onto our team. And, obviously the pay was better, and, there was an incentive to go there. So I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona, and this was in the beginning of 2003. And that company ended up getting bought out. It was a public company. It was on the New York Stock Exchange, and NASCAR had been wanting to buy them for many years. And so eventually, after a year and a half being with this company out here in Phoenix, they had made a pretty strong play to buy them. And the writing was on the wall that they were going to buy them out. And then this operation here, the corporate headquarters in Phoenix, was going to be sold, or was going to be closed down. And they basically told me you can move to Charlotte, North Carolina, that's where NASCAR kind of really started, that in Daytona Beach, Florida, or to Daytona Beach, Florida. You could pick either of those locations. They had offices in both. And I just chose not to do it. I had a rental property back in St. Louis, Missouri, and I've always been interested in real estate. And I said, you know what, this is my opportunity. I had some money saved. I'm just going to walk away from this deal and not have to travel every weekend. I'm going to get my real estate license, and I'm going to go, into this head on. And I did. So at the beginning of 2005, when the market was, crazy, not as crazy as it is today, what's going on today, but it was crazy back then. The market was shooting up, and we had, skyrocketing prices. Obviously a lot different back then in terms of the loan process, and they had stated income loans, which is why we had the collapse.
Yeah. You just breathe on a mirror, right?
Yeah, exactly. If there was a body there, it didn't matter if the heart was beating or not, they were giving out a loan. And so I got into real estate back in the beginning of 2005, and I've been in it ever since. So that was kind of my segue into real estate.
Wow. Yeah. So 2005, yeah, that was when it was starting to get crazy, right?
It was.
So you lived through the up and then the down, and then back to up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first couple of years were tough. I mean, getting into that business was, it was difficult, trying to, and I was doing it on my own. I didn't join a team. I was out there kind of just, flapping in the wind. And one of the things I think that would have helped me if I had a mentor back then, someone that told me the right things to do. I didn't go out and dump a bunch of money in advertising. But what I should have done right out of the gate was doing a bunch of open houses, which I eventually figured out. It took me about a year to figure out that, hey, I can pick up business by holding homes open. And I'll tell you what, when the market crashed, you didn't have a better opportunity. There were open houses available all day long. So I did. I got to be in touch with some builders that had spec homes, and unfortunately, some of those guys are not in the market anymore. They got beat down hard, and I just did open houses galore. And then when the market crashed, I started doing short sales. I had a guy that I worked with. He showed me how to do it. He had all the paperwork, and I learned from him. And there was people in my office that didn't want to do those. It was too paper intensive for them. They didn't have time for it or just didn't want to do it. And I got business from people in my office said, hey, I've got the short sale. Here's an opportunity. I'll take 25% or 20%, or I'll just give it to you. I don't even want it. I don't want to deal with it. And so I started doing short sales, and that was probably, 90% of my business for many years. Unfortunately, it was, a tough time. So as you guys know,
Yeah. Quick question about the Anheuser-Busch. Did you get free beer?
Yeah. Perks.
Yeah, there were perks. So especially in my position, I had a huge budget. I had a budget of about $30 million. Of course, a lot of that was allocated to contractually with NASCAR as being the official beer. And then with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, us having the namesake sponsorship of the car on the track. So every race we had a Budweiser car on the track. So that gave us a ton of coverage. And then some of the other budget was allocated towards Dale Earnhardt, the senior, the father. We had a sponsorship with him with our Busch beer, which is what we called our second class, third class tier beer. Was more of a blue collar, lower tier, and he was great for that. And it was kind of the hunting man's beer, and that's how we promoted it. It was called the Mountain Man. It's really what the tagline was for it. And so most of that budget was allocated. Now, then I had, probably $1 million where I had fun stuff with too. I could do dinners. There was promotional stuff with Dale Earnhardt Jr. that I did. We took him on trips and had him meet clients and fans and stuff like that. So we did a lot of fun stuff with it as well.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. But everybody in the company, as far as I know, for the time that I was there, when it was a public traded company and run by August Busch the third, we got 2 cases a month. So you get a ticket each month in your mailbox. You get a ticket, and you had a time that you would leave work at 5 or 6 or whatever. And then across from the brewery, they had operations all in St. Louis downtown. They had a big campus. They had a loading dock basically, and you drive your car in there, and you had a ticket because they didn't want traffic jams of people coming in and getting their beer. So you had an allocated time frame that you drive in there, and they had it down to a T. You'd pull up in your car, or your truck, or whatever, and you had on the board. You drive in, and it'd be like driving into Costco, and this big sign saying, "Here's the beers you can choose from." They had 5 different types of cans or 3 different types of bottles, mostly cans because bottles more expensive to produce. And you picked out, one of any one or 2 of the same, and you pop your trunk, they put it in there, and they close your trunk, and you drove off. So it was pretty neat system, and you get 2 cases a month. I
cool.
got all the beer I wanted, so I usually gave those away to friends and family. And so it was fun to have that, but that was one of the perks.
All right. Now you're in, as far as real estate, you're in the luxury division, right? I mean, you work a lot of luxury market.
I try to. The process is pretty much the same for if you're selling $1 million house or you're selling a $100,000 condo. So well, I shouldn't say 100,000. There's nothing.
Where's that again?
Yeah. Where is that?
Yeah. So a $500,000 condo, 1 bedroom, or a $3 million home. That's what I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, the process is the same. I mean, it's the same paperwork. But I'll work across, pretty much. I don't try to go too far out of bounds of Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. I've sold in Peoria, which is like a half-hour drive, and Glendale and stuff like that. I've got kind of a wide net, but I'll sell anything because I have people that, they'll buy a $3 million house or $1 million home and they'll say, hey, I want to find a condo for my daughter. Can you help? Or we have this investment property and some investment money. And we want to get an investment property. And so I'll help out with that too. And those numbers aren't, as big ticket, but I try to focus mostly on the luxury market. Correct.
Now, how do you, I guess, what was your process? When you made the decision, okay, I definitely want to focus on some luxury. What was the process to try to break into that particular market?
It was open houses, quite honestly. So when the market went sour and I kind of figured out in my head that, hey, this is a great opportunity. You're sitting in an open house. There's people coming in, and you're going to get some people that are just looky-loos, right? They're going to be driving down in, Beverly Hills or Paradise Valley, whatever you want to call it, and see a $3 million home. And they're like, hey, it's a Sunday. Let's just stop in and look at this house. I've always wanted to see it or whatever. And so most people are pretty good. They'll come in and say, hey, I'm not a buyer. I'm just looking, I just want to see this home. I've always wanted to see it. But then you get people that they're looking to buy. So you have buyers coming to you. Now, some of them have real estate agents, right? Or some of them don't. And they may say, hey, I have an agent, because they don't want you calling them and being the used car salesman of real estate. They don't want to get bugged. But I take a really laid back approach. I try to get rapport with them, ask them where they're from. I don't get too intrusive. I usually have something there to give them, usually, cold water or, some pens or something, or you give them something when they come in, like, hey, can I get you cold water? And it kind of breaks the ice. You give them something, they feel like they have to give something back. They start talking to you and you get a rapport, ask them where they're from. And if there's a commonality there, they'll ask for your card or you get their information and there you might have a client. It might not be that week or, the next month. It could be a year from now. I've had people come in from out of town. They come in from Canada or the East Coast, West Coast, and they're looking, they said, hey, we vacation here all the time. And Scottsdale, we try to come here every winter and just, for a week or two or a month. And eventually we're going to buy. And they might not be ready that day. They might not be ready for 5 years, but hopefully if they take your card or they take your, brochure from the house, they're going to be top of mind. Hopefully I've had people call me 3 years later and say, hey, you probably don't remember me, but I came through an open house. I grabbed the sheet, it's been in my top drawer, and now we're ready to buy. We're going to buy something, this year. And so that's where I've picked up a lot of my business, and I tried to focus those open houses in the luxury market here. So the buyers that were coming in, hopefully, were more of the higher end, high ticket item buyers.
And it's not just go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it makes a great office when you're just hanging out at a $1 million home, right? $1 million plus. And it definitely is helpful. Jeff and I, we used to be business partners in real estate. And Jeff, I don't know if you remember when we did that open house up north.
I got a speeding ticket.
Yeah, you got a speeding ticket. But
camera.
Picked up a client over there. But the thing is, they came in, they're actually pretty young. Mm-hmm. And, just like you, after a couple of weeks, they called and say, hey, we're ready to buy a house. I'm like, oh, okay. And they actually ended up buying 3 houses with us. So it's amazing.
You never know. I've sold homes to people, and then they start investing and doing some rentals here and there. And you pick up a $400,000 home for them, put a renter in there, put another one, 400, 300, and it adds up, and they kind of spread their portfolio, which is smart. They don't put everything in the stock market. They do some homes, they do, stock market, they invest, kind of spread it out and diversify a little bit. And I tell you what, you never know who's going to be, or, and the sad thing is in this market, divorced, people buy a house and then a few years later or 10 years later, they're getting divorced and you're selling their home for them, or they have a baby or 2 babies or 3, and then they need a bigger home. So if you stay in touch with people and you get that rapport going, hopefully that's a long-term investment for you, and they see value because they're using someone they can trust. And so that's kind of what I did, is I got together with one of the builders and became friends with him. I never had his listings because he was with a bigger outfit here in Phoenix, in a well-established, group of real estate agents that had started doing luxury years and years before I was in the business. So they had his listings, but they couldn't cover all the open houses. He had a lot of inventory. And so I went to that, that broker in our brokerage. He had his own, team. And I said, hey, if you ever need help holding these homes open, I really love his style. And, I know his product pretty well. And then they allowed me to do that. So I was holding his homes open all through the bad times when the market was really dropping and he was dropping prices and it was tough. But to your point, I would go in and bring my computer, you'd set up. And if you had 5 people through, great. If you had 0 people through, great. You sat there and you got business done. You made some calls. You were on email. It was a work day, and you're working in a multi-million-dollar home. And if someone came in and you picked up a client, it's gravy. That's the business. And sometimes you'd have 20 people or 30 people through. So the more touch points you have with people, I've always said, the better chance that you're going to sell a home. The more people you introduce yourself to. When I go out to dinner, I'll go with my girlfriend and we'll sit at the bar. Almost every time we'll sit at the bar because one is I think the service is better at a bar. And 2, we went out last night and had a pizza and some wine at the bar and just started talking to the guy next to us. And, he may or may not be a buyer, but we got a good rapport with him. He got our information, and you never know, you might sell something to someone like that. You're not going to get that sitting in a booth. Quite honestly, I get tired of talking to her. No, I'm just kidding. I know she's gonna watch this probably. I gotta throw that in there. But no, it's good because you're making touch points. And I say, hey, the more people, just like when you have an open house and you put the home on the internet, the more people that see it, the better chance you're gonna find the buyer, right? I've had people like, oh, I don't want to put a sign in my yard. I don't want to put it on the internet. Just sell it off market. And like, well, you're not doing yourself a service there. I don't even understand it. So you want it to be in front of the most people to get the highest price or to find that buyer in tough times. You might not get the highest price, but you may actually sell the place. So it's one of those deals where you want to touch as many people as you can in this business to get business.
For sure. If you need us to delete the part about the girlfriend at the bar, no, I'm just teasing.
It's going to cost you a couple beers.
I will say this, Joey. The revenue from those clients definitely made up for the speeding ticket.
It did.
I've gotten them too. Yeah, the red light cameras. They've gotten less of them. They used to be on the highways here, and they didn't renew that contract, but they're still.
Thank goodness.
The stop.
That one right on. Is it Pima, or what road is that?
Well, I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's Pima.
The ones off of Pima, they removed those. Those aren't there anymore.
Really?
Oh, well, they were there when I drove
past. They were there for many years, and I got hit with those too. Yeah, because they were strategically inside like.
Yes, right on the curve, right?
Yeah, the curve. Yep. Yeah, those are gone now. So.
I was going to try to say it wasn't me, but it was kind of hard to hide this. Unless I just shave it, I guess. But anyway, so since you're working, since you do work a lot with luxury, the stock market obviously has been pretty volatile the last few months, especially the last few weeks with everything going on.
Sure.
Do you feel like your luxury clients do they change the way that they do real estate based on what the stock market's doing at all, or not really?
So I think if it's for them personally, I don't think it affects them too much. When you get in that 2 million plus range, most of them take out portfolio loans to get cash off of their, equity investments, or they'll just have cash and they'll buy it, or they're not really too much affected by really the interest rate. So I don't see that. Although I do have a client that was looking to pick up a couple more smaller homes and rent them out. And he backed off a couple of weeks ago when the interest rates had jumped. He just said, hey, there's too much demand in the market, which I think is a smart move. He was looking between 400 and 600,000, and interest rates jumped. And I was running some numbers on putting tenants in there, even though the rental prices are pretty high, putting 20% down, and the way the interest rates are coming up and the demand. A lot of these homes that are getting listed at 450, they're selling at 480 or 500 because the demand is still pretty high here. So unfortunately, he just said, let's just hold off for a while and see where everything goes. So it did affect that, but that was more of an investment play for him. It wasn't, hey, I'm going to look for my own home. But most of my buyers right now that are in that luxury market, 9 out of 10 are coming from out of state. They're coming from the West Coast, Midwest, northern states. We don't get a ton. I'm not getting a ton of people on the East Coast. I think most of the people that are buying that are coming out of New York or Pennsylvania, they're going down to Florida. That's kind of their natural progression to get into a warmer climate or to get out from the cold. Here we get people from the West Coast. You get Northwest, Midwest, Missouri, Illinois. We'll get a lot of people, to buy here from those states. So, but they're almost all out of state buyers. It's crazy. We're getting a very large net migration of people into the state of Arizona.
Yep.
Yeah. And I wonder how long can it I don't know. I mean, how long can this bidding war thing keep going? I just blows my mind.
I think it's slowing down. I keep a read on the market. I always look at the single family homes detached, and I try to look at that weekly, just see how many homes are on the market in Maricopa County, which is a very large area of homes. Our normal market in the past, our normal market has been about 25,000 homes on the market, like active listings. And about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, we were at 4,200 single family homes on the market available that were active or coming soon listings. And so that was about a month and a half ago. Right now, I think I looked at it yesterday over the weekend, it was at 5,800 homes. So it's coming up. And I think part of that is the interest rates going up. I think part of it is just sheer inflation. Things are more expensive. I think part of it is the war that's going on right now between Russia and Ukraine. I think and then the volatility that you brought up, Jeff, in the stock market is definitely, it's starting to put a damper on it. So you're seeing more homes come on the market and not coming off as quick. So we're getting a net addition to available homes, which I think we really needed here. It was just crazy. I feel bad for first time home buyers. They just can't get in there. If you can, let's say you get it approved for a $500,000 home, you could buy, you got to put 20% down. You almost have to look at $400,000 homes or condos because you need a little bit extra juice to come over the guy that's going to try to, beat you out. And it's tough. It really is. I feel bad for people that are just trying to get in the market to buy their first home. It's a difficult market right now.
I was showing homes, over this past weekend, 500 to 600, 650. And there was an open house, a few open houses actually. And those open houses are crazy. I mean, the whole street was filled with cars. This was in the Ahwatukee area, and 50 people easily in and out. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So it's still a little crazy right now.
Yeah. And it's tough for buyers too, to tell them, especially if they come from out of state, hey, what should we offer on this 550 home? And you kind of do the calculation and say, hey, in a normal market, this would probably sell for the price that they're asking or maybe slightly below. But in this market, you're gonna have to come in at 575, and then they look at you cross-eyed. They don't believe you, and they don't want to do it. So I tell people when they first come into the market, I tell them, like, you're probably going to write 4 to 5 offers before you figure it out. And it's not that you're just saying, hey, I don't trust Eric. It's almost like you have to do it to figure it out, which is, it's a sad thing to say. There's not many that come in and just listen to you right off the bat. If I say, hey, you got to offer 575, well, let's just try 560. Well, you can try, but I'm telling you, you're not going to be competitive. And most of the agents right now, because the market is so crazy, most of the agents are telling you, hey, here's where you really need to be. If hey, I've listed at 30 showings yesterday, I've already got offers way above list price. And then you relay that back to your buyer and say, hey, if you want to play ball in this home, here's where you need to be. And if you don't, then don't even wait. I wouldn't waste your time, writing the offer. So
yeah, you pretty much have to. Well, and I'm not telling anyone to do this, but you pretty much have to waive the appraisal contingency.
Almost every one of them, they're waiving it, or they're giving a differential of 10, 15, 20 grand, whatever it is. You're giving up part of it, and that's the sad thing too, because a lot of people are scared about it. They hey, am I buying at the right time? I'm going to be over appraisal. Where does that put me? So if you buy it today, technically, you've overpaid, right? But then 6 months from now, where are you going to be? Are you going to be? People last year, I had people saying it, and now they've got $100,000 or $200,000 worth of equity. I mean, I couldn't call that. I didn't say, hey, next year you're going to have $200,000 of equity. I'm just saying, hey, it's a gamble. You just don't know. They're happy, but this year you're dealing with the same thing. Same people are saying, hey, what's my value going to be next year? And you can't look at it that way. You got to look at it long term. And quite honestly, interest rates have gone up. They're still low. I mean,
exactly.
They're not 8% or 6%, but I think people get jaded. They see that last year they could have got a 2.5% interest rate, and now they're going to pay 4 or 4.2. It's like, hey, it's still a very low interest rate, but it's hard to communicate that to them or make them feel good about it. It's they think about it. So
now I know we're having a lot of inflow from like the West Coast. We had a guest on, I think it was last month, that said surprisingly he's helped sell a lot of houses of people that are moving out of the state, like moving to lower cost areas.
out of Arizona. Well, so last year, I'd say my business, and it's always tricky. I think this business has its ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. I feel bad if anyone trying to get into the market right now, because it's a tough time for an agent to come in new. I'm not saying you can't do it. You can do it. It's more difficult than it was in the past until this market levels out. Right now, there's no open houses, right? So if I get a lot of my business from open houses, if I have a listing like last year, I wanted to do the open house myself for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday. And I do it. I mean, some of these guys are doing a 2-hour open house. Mm-hmm. I like doing an open house if my client's okay with it from 10 to 6. I mean, I'll be there all day. I'll just, and you're picking up clients, and you're also trying to get your client the best deal, like get as many people through as you can. So I did that last year, and I had a pretty balanced market. And when I say balanced for an agent, it's like you have half listings and then half buyers, right? That's kind of balanced. This right now, the way this year started off for me, I have all buyers. I have nothing listed right now. I've got a parcel of land in Moon Valley that's on the market, and I've got a couple potential buyers for that, but I can't sit that open, right? So unfortunately for me, I'm dealing with a lot of buyers, and that's the difficult person to have right now as a buyer. So It's tough right now. It really is if you have buyers. Now, so to your point, so last year, sellers, almost everyone that was selling from me, and I can't speak for other agents, they were moving from a job standpoint. They got a new job in another state. So that's why they were selling. And then they had a difficult time, because I was hearing it from a lot of them. They were moving to Texas or North Carolina, and they said the market was as crazy as it was here. So we'd list their home and it'd be sold, right away. There was no problems getting their product here, done and gone. It was when they got to the other side of where they were going. But that was 9 out of 10 of my sellers were moving because of a job. It wasn't, hey, I want to move just to move. So there are sellers. Obviously, there are sellers. They're few and farther between than there were buyers, which is why our inventory dropped dramatically. But yeah, the people that were selling were typically moving because of a job, for me at least. I'm sure there's other people that had second homes here and was like, hey, now's the time to cash in. I'm going to stay where I'm at in St. Louis or Chicago, and I'm going to sell that house, and I just gained $300,000 in equity. I'm going to cash out now, because who knows what's going to happen next year. So we had some of those, but most of my sellers were job related.
Got it. Yeah, I feel, I look at the numbers of agents that we have, right? Because to your point, you were saying, even if it's an agent, getting into the business or what have you, it's a tough market for anybody right now. I just can't imagine, what are we up to, like 40,000+ agents in the Valley, I think, or something like that?
Probably in the Valley. I think statewide, there's about 70,000+ statewide real estate agents. Now, I always say this too, 20% are doing, 80% of the business. So you got probably 20% of those are full-time. They've got to sell something to put, a meal on the table. And you probably have 80% that are part-time. They have another job, and maybe they have to have another job. They're a bartender, or they've got a full-time job Monday through Friday, and then they're showing home Saturday and Sunday. Or it's the husband or wife that, the other spouse, or whoever it is, husband, the other spouse is kind of the breadwinner, and they're doing it on the side from an investment standpoint, or just for fun, or whatever it is. So that's kind of the pro forma there. You got 70,000+, but 20% are doing most of the business. It's still tough though. That's a difficult situation to be in when there's 4,200 homes on the market, or a month and a half ago. So there's someone not eating. So I think that you're going to see people bowing out of the business, just because they're not going to, when time comes to renew their dues, and dues aren't cheap, you got to be on a board. You got to be on the Phoenix board or the Scottsdale board. Scottsdale's a little bit more expensive. I'm on the Scottsdale board, but it still costs you. And then you got your MLS dues. And when those come up and you haven't sold something that year, or you sold one home or 2 homes, it makes you think, hey, should I even renew? And there'll be people bowing out, and it'll come back, I think.
Yeah. Always does, right?
It does.
Down and then back up, and
it's ebb and flow in this business. That's the tough part. If you can weather the storms, you can do good in the business. But as you guys know, it's a bumpy ride. It really is. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody off. It's just, it's a sales job. You're doing sales, and it's 100% commission.
Yeah.
So the moral of this story is, you just have to go to more bars and talk to more people.
Go drink more. Yeah. Twofold, right? You can pick up someone, and then you can forget about your sorrows, right? Drown your sorrows.
Oh, that's great. Eric, anything else you want to make sure that you share with the agents before we move to the next segment here?
No, I think, let's move on to the next piece.
I think we covered a lot. We appreciate you coming on here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely. We give a big shout out to our sponsors, Security Title Agency and Fidelity National Home Warranty. They always do a great job. So make sure to give them a try.
Yep. Great company.
And well, let's get in the ring. You ready?
Okay.
Let's do it. All right. Why do you think the reason is that many agents are not successful?
Well, again, it's a 100% commission job. So I get up in the morning, I get up early, and I work this deal all day long, 7 days a week. Now, some people aren't wanting to do that. They're not willing to do that. Some people aren't self-motivated. They need someone telling them what to do. And it's just a personality trait. And I think it's part how you're raised and part, it might just be just how you're built, right? So if you're not self-motivated and you're not going to get up and you're not going to make the call and you're not going to introduce yourself to people and you're not going to get yourself out there and do open houses. I will say this, on open houses, I'm not saying that's 100% of what you got to do. I know there's agents in this business and they are successful and they swear they think open houses are a waste of time. Mm-hmm. They pick up their business in other ways, shape, or form. If through advertising, through picking up the phone and just calling past clients, that's great too. I do that. I connect with people. But that's an adjunct to what I do. That might be all of what they do and they're successful. Now, I've just found that open houses for me work and I haven't gotten all my business from that, certainly not. But it has helped my business in meeting more people. So, I think it's a self-motivation thing. If you're going to get up and you're going to answer the bell and you're going to do the right thing, you can be successful. But if you're the kind of person that needs that 9 to 5, that this isn't the job. It just certainly isn't.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared because, as you know, right now, if I have no sales and nothing in the hopper and nothing in escrow, I'm not eating for at least 40 days, right? I mean, I say that kind of jokingly because, a normal escrow is going to be 30, 32 days to about 40 days, 45 days. And so you're not going to get paid. You're going to do a month and a half worth of work or a little over a month worth of work before you're going to see a paycheck. And some people find that very, daunting. And it was when I got into the market too. When I started this career, it's a hard business, right? I mean, you reap what you sow, right? So, I mean, if you're not out there doing things, you're not going to get that check. And so it's a tough job. And you got to be self-motivated.
All right. How about a book recommendation, either read or listened to on Audible or?
I'm embarrassed to say this. I don't read books.
Okay. That's okay.
I'll listen to stuff, I'll read the news. I go online, I read the news. I try to stay up with market, just stuff that's going on in the market that may adversely or positively affect what I do in terms of the home sales. But yeah, books I haven't gotten into. I never was like that. I mean, I was a guy in college that was reading the Cliff Notes or buying, the notes that you could buy like secondhand, like black market in college. You couldn't copy them because they were on red paper. So if you try to take a friend's that he paid $20 for, you try to copy it, it would come out black. I mean, that's how they did it back then. We had no phones. You couldn't take a photo of it. You had to go out and buy your own. I was the guy buying those and studying off the cheat sheet.
That's funny.
Do they even have Cliff Notes anymore? Those black and yellow books?
I don't know. You could probably online for everybody that's college now, right?
I didn't read a lot during college either.
No, I just never got into it. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's an attention thing for me. I can't sit there and just do and go from page to page. I mean, I'll fall asleep or I'll just close it.
No worries. How about Apple or Android?
Apple. And I was Android, and my ex-wife got me into Apple. And then, almost like when you get into something like that and you get set up and you do it for a few years, and then you get that iPad and you got your iPhone and you got the MacBook. Jesus, if I even try to change something right now, I feel like I'm just like sucked into Apple. Like, Jobs is 6 feet under, but he's got me by the balls. He's got a hold on me. I can't get out of it now. So yeah, I'm Apple. So
here's a question.
I'm sure there's benefits to Android. So
yeah. Android way better. Anyway,
I know what Joey uses.
Yes. Favorite beer, imported and domestic.
Oh, that was my question I was going to ask. What?
I'd say imported probably is Corona Light. And I like going to Mexico too. Cabo is one of my favorite destinations. I think from a beer standpoint, domestic, it's always been Busch Beer. And I tell you what, I love Budweiser, but Busch Beer is brewed with corn. And I like, and they call it adjunct grains. It's the different grains that they put into the beer process. But I've always loved Busch Beer. I think it's got a ton of flavor. And Budweiser as well. I've never been, I mean, I drank Bud Light a lot and Busch Light and stuff like that, but lighter beers, for me, if I'm going to drink it, I drink for the taste and the calorie content. And I tell people, when I was in the business, the calorie content is negligible. I mean, a Budweiser is like 147 calories and a Bud Light's 110. So you're talking about one potato chip, so you're going to get more alcohol out of a Budweiser versus a Bud Light. It's got more alcohol content. And those are priced the same. You go to a bar, a Bud Light and a Budweiser, they're premium beers. So they're priced the same. If you're going to pay $2 for one, you're paying $2 for another, unless they're running some special promotion, that day. So why pay $2 and get more alcohol? Why wouldn't you? Why cheat yourself?
Take it from an expert.
Yeah. I do like Corona Extra. That's good. Hardly any place. So we just got back from Isla Mujeres. So if you ever get a chance to go there in Mexico,
I've never been. I honestly don't even know where that's at in Mexico.
It's so it's a little island. It's only like 6 miles long and about a mile wide at the widest.
Okay.
It's just off the coast of Cancun.
Oh wow. Okay.
But the water is unbelievable. I mean, you'll see it, how turquoise it is. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen water like this. But it's a great time because it's a little island. You rent a golf cart and you go all over the island. But it was strange. There was hardly any place there had Corona beer.
Wow. Okay.
Which was really odd to me. They had Sol and Dos Equis, but no Corona for some reason.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the landscape of it is now, but when I worked for Budweiser, chance to buy Guinness, I think that was one of their biggest mistakes. They never bought Guinness as a true import. And then they did buy into Corona. So they bought 49% of Corona. And so Anheuser-Busch, and they might still today own 49% of it. So they never controlled it and they never had the domestic rights for distribution. So so our competitors is the oddest thing. So here's the funny thing. You work for Budweiser, here's our beers, here's our, all the products we have, and Corona's bad. Don't push Corona, don't drink Corona. We don't distribute it to any of the bars, any of the stores, the C stores or grocery stores. So although the company owned 49%, it was like bad. We don't like it. And it's like, well, wait, we own 49% of it, but they didn't have the distribution rights. So they told us, don't push that product in the U.S. I don't know where it's at now since it got bought out. The company was bought by InBev, a Brazilian corporation. I don't know. I haven't been following that anymore. I don't know where they are on Corona. I'm sure they still own a stake of it. To the amount that they own, or if they distribute it now, that I don't know.
All right. Well, I like Sam Adams.
Sam Adams is a great product. It's funny because that was the heat. So when I started with Anheuser-Busch in 1995, and I'd say 96, 97, 98, those 3 years was a huge time for microbreweries. And that company started on the East Coast. And I tell you what, we taste tested it and we were like, damn, this is a great beer. And they had a great marketing campaign. So they were a thorn in our side. And although we were the biggest and, best, supposedly, that they ate a lot of market share and they did a great job. And that company was run well. They had great packaging. They had a great tagline and they had a great product. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Before you get off here, I was going to tell you though, because you did some NASCAR events. One year my wife got me a gift it's the Rusty Wallace NASCAR experience or something.
Yes.
I actually got to drive by myself one of those NASCARs. Now I think they had it governed a little bit because I think they told me the max speed was like 137. But still that's moving up PIR.
Yeah, on a track. That's crazy. And the funny thing about that, and you probably witnessed this, I did it once too. I did the Kyle Petty one or Richard Petty. Kyle's a son, Richard Petty. And I did it in St. Louis on the track there. And the St. Louis track, it never had a true NASCAR event, Winston Cup event, but they had the Busch Series, which when I was running the the deal at the time. We had the second tier, so it was like your AAA to NASCAR. So all the big drivers, they got their feet wet by going into the Busch Series. I forget what it's called now, Infinity X or whatever it is. And then if they were good enough, then they went up to Winston Cup. Obviously Winston's not involved anymore because of the cigarette aspect, but they'd go up to Winston Cup, and that's where you made the big money. So we had the Busch track. We had the Busch Series come to the track right out of St. Louis. It was on the Illinois side. It was just east of the city, and that was I don't quote me on. I think it was like a mile and a half track. So that's considered a short track. So Talladega is 2.6 miles. That's the longest track. And then Daytona is like, over 2 miles as well. So those are long tracks. So the short track and even the long track, when you're doing 130 miles an hour around a turn, it feels like you're going to slide off of the track. Like you feel like you're going to go up into the wall and hit it. But those tires are so wide and so sticky, they just stick to that pavement. And if you're on a warm day, you go around those corners at 132. It feels like you're going to slide, but the car just holds on. It's amazing what those cars can do and how you feel in it. It's pretty cool. So I'm glad.
Well, just the horsepower once you turn it on, it's just like whoa. But what really surprised me is before I got out of pit row, I mean, you're already in fourth gear.
Yeah.
Before you even get out. So I mean, you're up there already.
Yeah, you're flying. Yeah.
Anyway, it was fun. I just figured I'd tell you about that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Well, thanks for being on here, man. Appreciate it, Eric.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely great information as always. So
great show.
Yeah. Great show.
Yeah, I'd love to do it again sometime with you guys.
All right, man. Well, keep rocking it for 2022 here. I'm sure it'll be a good year for you. So,
Jeff, Joey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care.
Okay, have a good
All right,
day.
agents. Until next time, we will see you later.
See you later.
Adios.
All right. Good job, guys.